What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Southwest Fishing. So today we're going to be talking about the stick bait, or some of you may know it as the Senko. There are so many ways that you can fish this bait. It is very versatile. You can rig it with a weightless Texas rig, a weighted Texas rig, wacky rig, flick shake, poor man's Carolina rig, and I'm going to be showing you 3 of these ways how to rig them and why they work so well. And before we start, I hope that you guys are enjoying the content on the channel. We just hit 2,000 subs and we're on our way to 2,100. I greatly appreciate every single one of you guys hopping on board to the channel. If you're not already, please hit that subscribe button, like button, and bell notification for all future content videos. And let's get started. So the first way, everybody already knows about it. I also talked about it a little bit in one of my previous videos, the wacky rig. The wacky rig is an excellent technique, and this is a Gary Yamamoto. You just want to hook it right through the middle, and this way is so versatile because you can actually fish this. If the fish are super active, you can run this on top of the water, and each end kind of kicks up a little bit of a splash and creates a little popping noise, and the fish will come up and hit it. It's crazy when they do that when they're really active on top water, but the primary way that you want to fish it is cast it out there, let it sink, and when it sinks, each end of the Senko is just going to be fluttering down super slowly, just like that. And then you're going to pop it up and it's going to obviously flutter up. It looks like a little caterpillar, a little worm, little bait fish, just like something dying, something injured. And the fish, they cannot resist it. It's such a finesse technique. If you are having a very hard time catching fish, you could go to any body of water. It does not matter where you're fishing. If you're from the shore or if you're in a boat, you can hook it up just like this and you could go out there and slay the fish. Any sort of pond, you guys could take this technique and go slay a few fish. Another thing about the wacky rig, you want to use it on spinning gear primarily. You can use it on a bait caster. I mean, don't get me wrong, you could still use 10 to 15 pound tests on a bait caster and you can still fish with a wacky rig Senko, but you really should be using it on a spinning gear. A lot more finesse, you feel the bites a lot more, and typically the hookup ratios are a little bit better because when you're using a bait caster, the backbone on the bait casters are a little bit too much, and sometimes you'll just pull the hook right out of the fish's mouth. So when you have a finesse style rod, you feel the bite, you set the hook, it's got enough backbone to set the hook, but it's also got enough flex in the rod to allow that hook to penetrate. So that is going to be the first way to rig a Senko. And obviously you can match it up with the water clarity. I'm just using white for the camera just because it pops up a lot better. But I mean, match it up to the water clarity if you're fishing murky water, June bug, black and blue, more natural colors for clearer water like green pumpkin, watermelon red, white, stuff like that. And the second way that I love to fish this, and probably the #1 way that I fish it, is the weightless Texas rig. You want to use a size 2 to size 3 EWG hook. And the cool thing is about the EWG, as you can see, the extra wide gap, it's giving you that extra gap right there. So when the fish bites down on it, it gives it a better hook penetration. So when you set the hook, you have more room to be able to stick that fish. Make sure that you get it in the boat or on the shore. I would prefer size 3 EWG, but you can get away with a size 2. But I would definitely recommend a size 3, hands down. You could get an owner hook. This is, just like I said, a little Gary Yamamoto white Senko, nothing too special about it. The cool way about fishing it with a weightless Texas rig though is you can kind of work it like a fluke. There's times where you can pop it and it'll jolt just like a fluke, and you'll get bit a ton just doing that alone. Or you could pop it up and down so it's just kind of kicking up in the water column, let it sink, and that back tail is just going to kind of flutter in the water column as it's going down. Very subtle. The fish are going to hit it when it's on the drop, or right when you initially pop it, because that's going to create the reaction strike. Another way that you can fish it is just flat out on the bottom. You could cast it. You got to be patient because it is going to drop a lot slower than the wacky rig will, just because of how it sits in the water column. It sits like this and kind of flutters down at an angle just like this, and so it's going to take a little bit longer to get down to the bottom, but once you get it on the bottom, just super light pops, super light. And whatever fish is down there, I've caught tons of catfish and I've caught crappies and I've caught obviously a ton of bass just doing that simple technique as well. This bait is so versatile because you can work it in any part of the water column. You can even burn this on top. If you see any sort of shad busting or anything, you cast it right over there, burn it up top, and the bass will come up and hit it just like they will with the wacky rig. And so, awesome way to fish a Senko. The next way is, technically, a lot of people call it the poor man's Carolina rig. And what you want to do is have your line, obviously measure it up. I'd say probably about 6 to 8 inches. Just use a little tiny split shot, nothing special, just a little split shot. Right there's about good. So when you're doing this, when you're fishing this technique, not only is it gonna get the bait down to the bottom a little bit quicker, which is definitely helpful if you're kind of impatient like me and you don't wanna wait that long. But the cool thing is, once it gets down to the bottom, you got the little split shot sitting on the bottom, then this is gonna flutter down super slow, super mellow. You'll let it sit there. When you pop it, the split shot is gonna get caught on the bottom, and then this is gonna kind of flutter around in a circular motion or a jolt, and then it'll shoot back the other way. It's just gonna look super natural in the water column, and the fish sees it as a super active bait fish. It could see it as a bluegill, some sort of crustacean, a cod, depending on the color that you're using. It mimics so many different styles of bait fish and creatures that the bass love to eat. And so that's why when you pop it, it catches, swings around, and then you're gonna feel that nick. It's just gonna be a little tick. You're not gonna feel anything crazy. It's not gonna be like a jig bite or anything. You're gonna feel a little tiny tick. And then that's when you give it a second. I'd say probably give it about a second or two, and then set the hook on the fish. Just make sure that you get that hook penetration and everything like that. But I'm gonna go through the 3 things real fast just to clarify everything. So you got the Weightless Wacky Rig. Weightless Wacky Rig, awesome. You can run it on top of the water, and when it's running on top of the water, it's gonna kind of kick up like this, and it's gonna kick up the water, make a little bit of disturbance, a little bit of a popping noise. But the main way that you should fish it is just cast it out there, let it sink. It's gonna sink real slowly, so be patient, but it's gonna flutter down just like this, and then when you pop it up, it's gonna jolt back up, and you're gonna get a lot of bite on the drop. That's primarily when I get bit on the Weightless Wacky Rig. The next way is just the Weightless Texas Rig. The Weightless Texas Rig, you can fish in multiple ways. You get jolted through the water column kind of like a fluke. You'll get a lot of bites like that. You could burn it on top. If you see any sort of bait, you'll get bit like that. You could let it drop to the bottom. Be patient because it's going to take a long time, but when it's dropping to the bottom, that tail's going to be kind of wobbling on the way down. You'll get bit on the drop. Or you can fish in mid-water column and just kind of pop your rod tip up straight up. And when you do that, it's gonna pop it like this, and then you're gonna let it drop and it's gonna sink down just like that. And then the final way to fish it is the poor man's Carolina rig. Just a little tiny split shot about 6 to 8 inches above your actual hook and Senko. And then once you got it all set up, all rigged up, cast it out there, let it drop to the bottom. Once it hits the bottom, it's gonna sit here, this is gonna flutter down, you might get bit on the drop, or when you pop it, it's gonna flutter around in a circular motion, or it could also jolt and then kind of kick back because the sinker is going to be caught in the sand or in a little rock or something like that, and it's going to cause it to jolt back because that's going to be holding it in the rock. And so the fish are going to see that quick jolt and they're going to bite it off of a reaction strike. You can also do this with a little craw, a little style of a little Ned rig bait. There's so many different things that you can use with this little style, the poor man's Carolina rig, but I'm just showing the Senko just for now, just because the Senko catches fish year round, doesn't matter, winter, spring, summer, fall, canal, lake, pond, river, etc. You could catch fish anywhere, any time of year with the Senko. So I hope these 3 techniques kind of helped you guys out, and hopefully you guys can use one of these techniques, go out there, slay the fish. Also, if you guys start catching fish with these techniques, leave a comment and I'll respond to you guys. I really enjoy conversating with you guys down in the comment section. Also, if you guys are not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate every single one of you guys. None of this would be possible without you guys, and we are on our way to 3,000 subs, and I greatly appreciate it. And enough talking. Hopefully these techniques helped you guys out, and I hope you guys go out there, slay some fish. We'll see you guys next time on Southwest Fishing.